Howdy, Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here. Today, yeah, I know this video is late. This video is very late, but you know what they say, better late than never. But to be completely fair, we did get a bunch of news relating to, well, Star Wars in the past week. And so I've just been so busy making videos on that topic that I just kind of had to push this one further down. But I said better late than never. So after Star Wars Celebration, we've gotten all the news for the Star Wars projects we're receiving from now till Kingdom Come. And I figured, why not circle back to the Bad Batch? I know this season's been over for almost a month, so without further ado, let's just jump into it. So, what did I think of the Bad Batch Season 2? I have mixed feelings on it. There are some things I really adore about this season, and there's some things that, yeah, you know, they definitely need to go back to the drawing board for them. But I will say it is better than season 1, simply for the fact that this season feels like it has more of a purpose, it has more of a plot that it's following. Like, there's a certain drive this season has that the first one didn't. The first one kind of meandered a lot, and it really felt like the first one was made just because corporations, you know, Clone Wars was successful, so they needed to make something that was similar to Clone Wars, and that's why season 1 was made. It felt like season 1 was made just for money and for greed. There was no purpose to it. And so with season 2, I really do like how they actually injected a bit more story into this, and they tried to expand the scope and give it, you know, and basically give our main characters an end goal to reach. So I will always appreciate that. Now, before I continue, I just want to let you all know that these clips are not mine. I have shamelessly stolen them from the YouTuber Star Wars Theory. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. Go check him out. Huge Star Wars fan, and I really like the guy. He really does produce some cool content. But without further ado, let's get into the review. So, what did I think of the Bad Batch Season 2, aside from it being better than Season 1? What are its strengths and what are its weaknesses? Normally, I would go through this kind of like episode by episode, but I think me just naming the elements of this would really be the best thing. For one, the animation. Just look at this thing alone. The animation this season has been ramped up to 11, and so many images could be like wallpapers. Like this image for where we're looking over this destroyed city. Beautiful. I love it. Look at the scenery here. It is gorgeous. So the animation has definitely taken a step up, and I do think that a lot of CG or 3D shows, you know, with this kind of animation style should look like this going forward. Of course, not all of them look like that, not all of them have the budget to, or it's too expensive or whatever. I just feel like the animation in this show should very much be the standard, especially if you want to make a CG show. Otherwise, yeah, might as well just stick to 2D. Apparently, that's what a lot of animation fans want as well. But I really love the animation in this season. It looks gorgeous. Almost every episode looks amazing, top tier quality, and I love this so much. Again, it does kind of make me a bit jealous that Clone Wars wasn't made in the 2020s, because this show and Tales of the Jedi really show how far animation has come in the past 10 to 20 years. And so just imagining Clone Wars being made in this kind of polished style, whoo, boy, would we be eating good. But as I said, the animation alone here is great, and it's definitely a plus for the season. I can't really say anything bad about it. I like the aged up design. I like the aged up character designs, especially Omega. She really does look like she's gone through some stuff. And I like how all the other characters have the Bad Batch have changed their suit designs. You know, their basic combat suits. It really gives them more identity and personality for each member of the team. I guess the next thing I'll talk about is the characters, and unlike season 1 where only 2 characters were developed, we get 2 more characters who are developed this time. This being Crosshair and Tech. These are characters who get a bit more spotlight to shine in and a bit more stuff to do, really. Of course, we have Tech with him slowly learning how to feel things the way other people do, but he doesn't necessarily have to change because of it. A lot of people have said Tech is kind of like a neurodivergent kid or someone who doesn't feel the same way, and I kind of see where they're coming from with that. Tech doesn't need to learn how to cry or emote or hug. He just needs to learn what other people are feeling, and it's not the same as him changing his personality in order to achieve that goal. And I really like how they handled that character development in this season. It was really well done, because originally a lot of people were like, oh, Tech is just more robotic, he's the closest clone trooper to a droid. But no, he really does have his own personality, and he just feels things differently. It's kind of one of the reasons why I don't hate the episode titled The Crossing, which, yeah, it's very much a filler episode, but it really does dig into Tech and Omega's, like, how should I say, bond between them and how they both view things very differently. Omega's a child who is very naive and very open to the world. She wears her emotions on her sleeve, whereas Tech, he processes things very differently, and it's not even like voluntarily, it's just how he does it. And I really like how we look at both those characters. Of course, the highlight for this season for a lot of people is Crosshair himself. The man gets the best episodes, period, of this season. I really like how we go into his psyche and how the Empire really does treat the clones horribly, and how, whatever systems they take over do suffer because of it. I do find it very hilarious how a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, man, Andor and the Bad Batch really showed me how horrible the Empire is. And to that I'm like, did you really not watch any Star Wars media before Andor and the Bad Batch Season 2? The Empire has always been horrible. What are y'all talking about? But yeah, no, I really do like how we get to see the clones suffering, especially from Crosshair's perspective, because he's really the only guy we can see this from. The Bad Batch aren't in the system like he is, so we get to see it from his point of view. And of course, Episode 3 and Episode 12 are the best episodes of the season, simply due to the fact that we get to see Crosshair going through all this nonsense. And I really like how he slowly turns away from the Empire. In Episode 3, he did exceptional work for them, and they just didn't care. They had no morality whatsoever. They're like, oh, wow, we killed this person who was fighting for the good of things. We don't care. Move on with life. And we don't care for your services, really. It's kind of why Cody left. Oh, yeah, Cody's back. We'll talk about the cameos in a second. And then we have Episode 12, where Crosshair has teamed up with Mayday to go on a mission. Of course, they failed the mission, and as such, Mayday kind of dies on that mission as well. And his death is just disregarded by oh gosh, what's his name? By that horrible lieutenant. I hate him so much. He's on the same level as Pong Krell to me. Because, at least with Pong Krell, it took a while for us to hate him. Yes, what he did was way worse than what this lieutenant did. And of course, he's a way more horrible character considering he's a Jedi. But it took a while for you to hate him. With this guy, the minute he showed up on screen, I wanted him dead. I want him dead. And I am so glad Crosshair got the final laugh by killing him. It felt so good and so justified. But yeah, I really like how that was the final straw for him, seeing one of his clone brothers die for him. And then he's like, you know what, screw the Empire, we're turning against him. So Crosshair, of course, got the best development in this season. And I really do hope that by the next season, he really has fully turned and he joins the Bad Batch once again. As for the other Bad Batch members, there's not really a lot to say on the development, mostly because they kind of get none. Most of Hunter's development was kind of delegated to Season 1. He really doesn't do much here aside from lead, really. Rekka just acts like a big child. In Season 1, he was just like the dumb, strong guy, which is like fine. But in this season, he's just basically a child. He's just an adult-sized child in this point. So I kind of feel like they regressed Rekka's character just a bit. Hopefully they can bring it back next season. And then we have Echo, who kind of leaves in the middle of the season and then comes back. I swear, Echo's departure was the weirdest thing ever. Because he could, it's as if the character could tell he wasn't getting any development with the team. And so he leaves with Rex to go do his own thing. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. So maybe we'll get an episode dedicated to Echo and Rex, like rescuing the other clones or whatever. And we only get one episode with one rescue that happens in the beginning, before the main plot of the episode starts. And he isn't even with Rex, and then he kind of leaves and whatnot. So it's like, huh? What happened? You promised us something, and then you gave us half of something. And then he just joins back with the team by the end of the episode almost immediately. I don't know, that part felt a bit rushed to me. Like, we skipped a couple episodes, Like, maybe we could have given one of the filler episodes to Echo and Rex. That would have been better, in my opinion. Especially considering Echo and Rex did used to work together a lot of the time in the Clone Wars. You'd have thought that, hey, pair these two back up together, put him on a mission or something. But I guess that's not the case. I did like seeing Wolf back though. Not Wolf, sorry. Gregor back though. Gregor was one of the clones we got to see in Rebels who went to live on an isolated world with Rex. And I guess all we're missing is Wolf. Once they bring in Wolf, the main trio is there and they're set for Rebels, which kind of makes me wonder what's gonna happen to the clones. But again, we'll touch on that in a second. Now, let's talk about the episodes. I'm not going to go through them one by one, but I will give my general thoughts on them. This season did very much go back to that kind of Clone Wars style storytelling. Season 1 also dabbled a bit in this, but Season 1 was very heavy on the cameos and origin stories for different characters, like Hera and Kanan Jarrus. So you kind of felt a bit disconnected as we didn't focus on the Bad Batch that much. This season does kind of follow them a lot, and again, they do structure the episodes very Clone Wars like the first 2 episodes is like a mini Clone Wars arc, or at least half of a Clone Wars arc, where they're trying to steal stuff from Count Dooku's old castle and they fail. I think this was a really strong season premiere. This was a nice way to introduce us to the characters, to the world, and to the setting. As mentioned, the animation in those 2 episodes was really great, and the storytelling was really good. I liked the action, and it was really some good, Bad Batch stuff. This is the stuff I really like to see from the show, so I really have no notes against that. Episode 3, as mentioned, was a Crosshair episode. You can't go wrong with that. And they brought Cody back. Yay! And then we do get a couple filler episodes here and there. For example, episode 9 and 10 were very much filler episodes. However, episode 9, as I mentioned, I don't really hate it as much. I wouldn't say it's the worst filler out there, mostly because they gave character development to Tech and Omega. But in episode 10, yeah, that was a filler episode. Like, we have a kid uprising against, like, this guy who's in charge of a mining industry that's long since been abandoned. I could not care for that. No one cared for that episode. It was definitely, like, probably the worst episode of the season, simply due to the fact that nothing happened. And, of course, we have the episode Pabu, where the clones go to chill on this, like, island planet. And, yeah, also nothing happens there. Literally, the biggest thing to happen there is a tsunami that occurs once every 30 years. And you know they came up with that explanation just so we could have a bit of action in the episode. Literally nothing happened in that episode. I get we needed to establish a new base for the clones for the Bad Batch to chill in, but we did not need that. And those were just like some of the weak episodes we did need. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the good episodes, because as mentioned, the first 2 episodes were really good. Episode 3 and 12 were Crosshairs episodes, which were really good. And we have episodes 7 and 8, which were also some of the best episodes from this season, if not the entire series in general. The Crosshair episodes and the mid-season event of this season were really great. 7 and 8 were amazing, simply due to the fact that this felt like good old classic Clone Wars. Like, this felt like such a classic Clone Wars story. I can't even express it enough. We get Clone Wars characters coming back like Rex and Senator Chuchi, and we even get Palpatine, voiced by Ian McDiarmid. I am so surprised they got Ian McDiarmid to voice Palpatine for a 2-minute scene. He literally does a monologue and then leaves. It's honestly something amazing. So yeah, we do, and of course the Bad Batch do their whole heist thing where they have to steal information. Again, these 2 episodes really did feel like classic Clone Wars, and it was really good. I really liked those 2 episodes. And of course we have the finale, which was really great. I really do like the 3-part finale we got. Episode 14, 15, and 16 all play into each other, and they all lead up to one big resolution. Really love that kind of stuff. However, there's also one more big miss I have to mention, and that is the Kashyyyk episode. For those of you who remember, when they showed the Kashyyyk episode in the trailers, I kind of, not a reaction video, but I did talk about what I expected to see from the Bad Batch Season 2 a while back. And I was very excited for the Kashyyyk episodes, mostly because I thought they were going to adapt the invasion of Kashyyyk. I've mentioned this before on my channel, but just a quick recap. The invasion of Kashyyyk in Legends, mostly, because we haven't seen it on screen as of yet, but it was kind of touched on in Jedi Fallen Order, so it's kind of canon. But the invasion of Kashyyyk was when the Empire came to take over Kashyyyk, and they enslaved a bunch of the Wookiees. They burned down their villages, and then took the inhabitants, and forced the Wookiees to essentially build them the Death Star. Kind of like what they did with Andor and the prison stuff, except this time the Wookiees were on site building the Death Star. So while the prisoners, the prisoners with Andor and whatnot, were assembling the pieces for the Death Star, the Wookiees were putting those pieces together. And I really wanted to see that happen in this season. Again, they kind of made Kashyyyk a big thing in the trailers. But they only did it for 1 episode. And that episode wasn't even on the invasion of Kashyyyk. It was on the epilogue of Kashyyyk. Because when we go to Kashyyyk, we get to see, like, the villages are already burned down, and the Trandoshans and the stormtroopers have already on the planet, like, combing the area looking for any survivors, meaning the invasion has already happened. And this is sad, because with an invasion of that scale, you'd expect there to be, like, because with a story of that scale, you'd expect there to be, like, a Clone Wars style arc going on here. Something like 4 to 6 episodes long. This could have even been the season finale if they wanted to make it like that. The Empire just raining down their full might on Kashyyyk. The Bad Batch and the Wookiees are fighting desperately to protect the planet, but to no avail. And they are forced to run away, or, they're forced to evacuate or escape before they themselves are captured or killed. It would have been such a cool thing to see. Again, I don't think maybe a season finale would have been fitting, more like a mid-season event, but a Clone Wars style arc, like 4 episodes, would have been amazing for this kind of storytelling. And then, but of course, we only got the epilogue to that. We only come to Kashyyyk after the invasion has happened, after the Wookiees have all been enslaved, have all been captured and enslaved. And instead, we only get, like, and it feels like this episode feels like it's the last part of what we should have actually gotten. Like, as I said, if this were a Clone Wars style arc, the first 3 episodes were focused on the actual invasion, and then the episode we got in this season, the episode we actually got, would have been the 4th episode, kind of an epilogue to wrap everything up. We at least know that Gungi, I swear I forget his name, is safe, and the Bad Batch can leave the planet knowing they at least left something behind. I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of missed potential with the invasion of Kashyyyk, and the fact that we'll never get it adapted to screen now is kind of sad. Because like, what other series or movie or special could they make about the invasion of Kashyyyk? There's not really much. You can only get that in books, which most of which are legends, or in video games, where, as mentioned, the closest we can get it to it being canon is Jedi Fallen Order. It is a shame, I will admit. Now let's talk about the cameos in this season. For one, I do appreciate the use of the cameos in this season. They aren't as many as they were in season one. I swear, there was like a different cameo. There was like one cameo per episode in season one. It was kind of ridiculous because we had like Kanan Jarrus in the pilot. Then we had a two-parter focusing on Hera, and then Rex came back for the Braca episode. There was a lot, and then there was like also a two-parter with Cad Bane. There was a lot of cameos in season one. Season two also has its fair share of cameos, but they aren't as egregious as season one. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate cameos. I'm one of the few people who actually like cameos, especially in Star Wars. But what matters is how you handle them. Because if you handle them poorly, people will hate cameos and they see there are too many of them. So in season two, I do think they were handled a lot better. For example, we had no cameos in the premiere episode. That was really cool. And the cameos we did get in later episodes were also used well. For example, Rex only shows up in one episode in this season. We also get Gregor, who was from Rebels, showing up in one episode. And you don't even know he's Gregor until they say his name. And we also get a few more sprinkled here and there that you wouldn't really notice. For example, we have Gungi in the Kashyyyk episode, where if you didn't watch the Clone Wars, you wouldn't know who this guy is. And we have the finale where we have Krennic and Tarkin both show up. I also really like how Tarkin is back at it again. He's using his tactical mind to get ahead of things. But he's also you don't want to make Tarkin mad. You know, once you make Tarkin mad, things go haywire for you. And of course, in the finale, we also get, what's his name? Oh, bloody hell, what's his name? Saw Gerrera show up. So, seeing Saw Gerrera was really cool, and I really like how we get to see his motivations and whatnot in this episode. We get to see how far he's willing to go to try and get the Empire no matter what. Even when the clones are like pleading with him, they're like, please, they have our brother captured, or killing these guys will not be the smart move in the long run because they'll always be replaced. We get to see just his determination to take down the Empire. And of course, he uses unorthodox methods to do so. Saw Gerrera is such a radicalist that not even the rebellion wanted to side with him. They're like, yeah, he's too crazy. And I really like how we get to see that in this episode. It's a way better characterization of the character than what we saw in season one, where he only shows up and he's like, oh yeah, clones, working for the Empire is bad, you know? Like, one day they're gonna turn on you, you should join us. And then he just leaves. That is not how Saw Gerrera would act. So I really like how he's characterized a lot better in this version. Also, the way he looks so young here compared to like how old and disheveled he looks like in Andor and Rogue One. It's like, man, 5 years will do something to a bastard, you know? Stress will do something to a bastard. But yeah, I really do like how he's characterized in this episode. So as far as cameos go, this season does a really good job with them. Honestly, I am really hoping that Boba does show up at some point. I really do hope he shows up in season 3, because that would lead to such a good and interesting dynamic with the clones, especially with him and Omega. Both of them being unaltered versions of their father, Jango Fett. We could have an interesting dynamic between them, where Boba is more jaded and hateful because of the war, and spiteful because of the war. And then we could see Omega, who's much more optimistic and more naive, or how should I say, she's more upbeat because she didn't live through the war. Or at the very least, she was an active participant during the war, whereas Boba was. And I don't know, I just think an interesting dynamic with Boba and the Bad Batch would be really cool, and I would definitely like to see an episode or two focused on them. But we'll see if they do that next season. We'll see if they give into that next season. Of course, D. Bradley Baker. Speaking of the cameos, I just gotta mention like the voice actor. D. Bradley Baker, the guy who voices all the clones, he does a spectacular job. He gives each clone their own personality, and you wouldn't even know that they're all voiced by the same guy. I swear, 90% of the cast is just this one guy doing the voices for all of them. He's a talented man, honestly. You gotta give him respect. But anyway, let's talk about the finale. So, the finale is something you'd expect would be very formulaic, where part 1, they stick the tracker onto the doctor's ship. I forget the doctor's name. But you'd think they stick the tracker onto the doctor's ship, and then part 2, they go to Mount Tantus and rescue Crosshair. That's what a formulaic season finale would look like, and then he officially joins the team. But that is very much not the case. The plan goes oh so very, very wrong. Not only do they fail to put the tracker on the ship, or more or less the ship gets blown up, but they lose the doctor in the process. And when they're trying to escape, Tech sadly gives up his life to save the clones, enacting Plan 99, which I didn't even know was a reference to Clone 99. I knew the Bad Batch called themselves Clone Force 99 because, much like Clone 99 from the Clone Wars, they were all not deformed, but they all had different attributes that made them stand out from the rest of their clones. They were not regular clones, basically. They all had mutations. That was the word I'm looking for. They all had certain mutations about them, which is why they call themselves Clone Force 99. And for those who don't know, Clone 99 from the Clone Wars, he was like this clone who was like very much deformed and mutated. He doesn't look like Django in the slightest. But he still had the heart of a true clone soldier, giving up his life to save the rest of his brothers during an attack on the Camino base. So in this season, so we do know that the Bad Batch named themselves after Clone 99. Basically, he was an inspiration to them. And Plan 99 was basically sacrifice your life for the sake of your brothers. And I did not know that was what Plan 99 meant. Again, I knew the name of the Bad Batch tied to Clone 99. I just didn't know that they also had a contingency plan to sacrifice one of their own to save the others, showing how much they really did care about each other's brothers. And then part 2 is just all about how things go to hell. Omega gets captured by the Empire. Wrecker is almost killed. Luckily, he and Hunter are saved by Echo, but only they escaped. Of course, they managed to grab AC on the way out, but like their ship is damaged. They're no closer to finding Crosshair, and now Omega is gone. And of course, surprise, by the end of the episode, dun dun dun, Omega has a sister. Now, it's unclear. I mean, I'm pretty sure she's a clone. Like, you can't say Omega has a sister and that sister is not a clone, because it's very much shown that Omega herself is a clone. So, while we do know her sister is a clone, I am very interested to know how she came about. Was she altered like the clones during the Clone Wars to be given super fast aging? Was she originally supposed to be an unaltered version of Omega, where she kind of just wanted to do her own thing, and again, they made her super old. Not super old, but like they aged her up a lot faster than Omega did. I am very interested to know why the backstory, or like what makes Omega's sister tick, you know. But she was also given a last name, something that none of the other clones have been given. I forgot her last name, but she does have a last name, something that none of the other clones have. I'm also very interested to know why the Empire is so dead set on having Omega and experimenting on her. I guess because she's an unaltered clone, but like, why wouldn't they look for Boba? Because Boba is way more of a pure clone than her, because, you know, of course, Omega is female and Jango Fett wasn't a chick, you know. So of course you run and look for Boba, because Boba is supposed to be a spitting image of Jango. He's supposed to be like Jango in every shape, in every sense of the word. And we know that Jango didn't care for the other clones, so we know he didn't care for Omega as well. So it kind of makes me wonder why they want Omega this badly. Very interested to know, and I'm very excited to see what happens in season 3. Oh, and how could I forget to mention? Yeah, we get the Zillo Beast back. It's great seeing the Zillo Beast again. I am very interested to know why they brought it back, because I do remember Dave Filoni and the crew said that they were never interested in bringing the Zillo Beast back, simply because there was no galactic government strong enough to take it down, you know. The Republic was basically the strongest they could do, because they at least had Jedi to help them. But the Empire would not be able to hold down a Zillo Beast. They would have to keep it on an isolated planet, which, as we see, didn't happen here. So yeah, and I do know that they want to use like the Zillo Beast armor for Stormtrooper armor to make them resistant to like blaster bolts and lightsabers. But I am very interested to know how Dave and the crew are gonna write the Zillo Beast so that it's not such a big force that the Empire won't struggle in taking it down, you know. I do understand that this one's like a baby Zillo Beast. It's not as big as the one in Clone Wars, but I am very interested to know how they're gonna write it going forward, because they've introduced the concept, so we gotta resolve that plot line somehow. But yeah, that's kind of basically it for season 2. Again, there's a lot of good stuff this season, a lot of good episodes, way more better episodes than in season 1, but the bad episodes really are bad, because there is a lot of missed potential they had with them, and I am kind of bitter that they didn't utilize those episodes to the best of their ability. I don't know if it was because of budget cuts, pacing cuts, or whatever, but I don't think pacing or the episode count was the issue. A lot of people did complain that the Bad Batch has way too many episodes, and this leads to filler, but if anything, I do think the Bad Batch has good enough episodes. I know having shorter seasons these days is the fad with a lot of people. You know, a lot of people like seasons that are 8 to 10 to maybe 12 episodes long. They don't want anything longer than that. So I was very happy when I found out the Bad Batch is still having 16 episodes per season. And a lot of people are like, that's too long. We're just getting filler episodes at this point. The problem is not the amount of episodes, it's how they use the episodes. And here, I don't think they use the episodes to the best of their ability, which would lead to a lot of pacing issues, as I said before. So if they just utilized each concept as well as they could, I do think we could have had something stronger here and something to attach a lot of people to season 2 better. But regardless, I do think season 2 is better than season 1. There are a lot more better episodes here than season 1. The use of the cameos was a lot better. And when they really wanted to treat an episode seriously or up the stakes, they could. I do think the Bad Batch works a lot better as... However, with that being said, I do think the Bad Batch works a lot better being a Clone Wars epilogue than it is being its own show. Because clearly, the Bad Batch is still kind of struggling to find an identity. As much as it now feels like there's more of a direction that the show wants to go in, it still very much is struggling to stand out on its own, I dare say, you know? Because whenever it does Clone Wars stuff, it excels at it. But whenever it tries to do its own thing, you kind of get filler episodes and kind of you feel a bit empty after watching the episodes. So I do feel that whenever the Bad Batch acts as a Clone Wars epilogue, it works amazingly. When it doesn't, you can't tell the difference. You can tell there's a drop in quality. So, you know, thoughts going forward for season 3, just do a lot more Clone Wars stuff. It's clearly what the people want, and it's clearly what's working for you guys best. Just stick to doing Clone Wars stuff, and you'll have a great season on your hands. Stick it to your own thing. Yeah, it's clearly not gonna help in the long run. 2 seasons in and nothing has changed. Yeah, I even forgot we had like the racing episode and the giant mech episode. Those episodes were just entirely pointless in my opinion. Yeah, the racing episode got the guy who voices Sonic from the Sonic the Hedgehog movie in it, but that's about it. I mean, we also got a bit of development for tech, but that's about it. And then the giant mech episode was literally just nothing. There was no character development or story development in that episode. There was so nothing there. That was such a nothing episode. So, yeah, The Bad Batch Season 2, it has some really good episodes. It also has some really bad episodes. And honestly, just stick to being a Clone Wars epilogue. You will thank yourself a lot more for doing so. And you'll be a much better show at the end for sticking to that. Just be a Clone Wars epilogue. So, where I consider Bad Batch Season 1 to be Clone Wars Season 8, Bad Batch Season 2 is very much Clone Wars Season 9. And we're getting Season 3, which will be Season 10. Let's talk about Season 3 for a quick second. So, at Star Wars Celebration, it was announced that Season 3 will be the third and final season for the Bad Batch. Meaning, this is a season where we get to see a bunch of character arcs wrap up, and we get to see how all of the story beats tie into later Star Wars projects like Andor and Rebels, and of course the original trilogy. So, a lot of people have theorized that the Bad Batch are probably gonna die next season, mostly because by the time we do get to Rebels, there are only 3 clones who joined the rebellion: Rex, Wolf, and Gregor. And we don't know much about the other clones like the Bad Batch, Omega, Crosshair, and whatnot. We know Boba becomes a bounty hunter, but he's not part like the Bad Batch. So a lot of people are theorizing the Bad Batch are gonna die. I don't think they're gonna die. I don't think they're gonna give us like a Clone Wars Season 7 heartbreaking ending. If anything, I do think that the Bad Batch will most likely just move to Pabu. They'll just go to Pabu, they'll set up a life for themselves there, and they'll just live there till the end of time, honestly. We might see them in future Star Wars projects, but really the furthest we can see them would be the Mandalorian before their enhanced aging takes an effect on them and they all die. Except Omega, of course. Who Omega, since she's, you know, basically still a kid and she's unaltered, she could live for as long as she needs to. It doesn't really matter. But for the Bad Batch themselves, I feel like the latest we could see them would be around the Mandalorian timeline. That's where they'd be like really old, like Rex age. But I don't think they're gonna die. I think they're gonna rescue Crosshair and they're gonna go to Pabu and chill. Maybe they'll even chill with Omega's sister. You know, they'll rescue her in the process as well. As for the other clones, I do think we'll get a lot more Rex in Season 3. Mostly because we need to see him finding Wolf and Gregor. He's already with Gregor as of this point. So we need to see him finding Wolf. And then the 3 of them will need to move to the isolated planet. Which just leaves the other clones they rescued. What happens to them? We don't know. Maybe they'll form a clone rebellion. Maybe the Empire will kill them off. Who's to say? It's too early to tell on that one, I would dare say. But for the Bad Batch, you know, the main characters and Echo and Omega and maybe Omega's sister and Crosshair, they're all gonna move to that planet. And then Rex and the other 2, Wolf and Gregor, will go to the isolated planet, leaving the rest to do whatever, I guess. Maybe they'll go into hiding, maybe they'll join the rebellion, who knows. But yeah, that's about it. Clone Wars Season 2, a lot better than Season 1. Stick to being, Bad Batch Season 2, a lot better than Season 1. Stick to being a Clone Wars epilogue. That's clearly where this show's greatest strength lies in. The serious episodes are really good, and whenever it does decide to do some Clone Wars shenanigans, it gets really amazing. So yeah, can't wait to see Season 3, and I can't wait to see what BS way they find of explaining how Tech is still alive, because a lot of people are smoking that copium. They don't think he's dead. I'm on the fence. Like, I'd be fine if he stayed dead, but at the same time, I wouldn't be too surprised if they find a way to bring him back to life. So, kind of on the fence about that one. But anyways, those are my thoughts on Bad Batch Season 2 or Clone Wars Season 9. Let me know what you guys think of the season. Are you excited for Season 3? Are you sad that the show is ending so soon? Let me know your thoughts down below. And I think it's set in 2024, so I guess I'll see you guys then. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. I've been Captain Phoenix. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Go check out Star Wars Theory again. His link to his channel will be in the description down below. And with that, I will see you in another universe. Goodbye, my Rangers.